George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. Bistro dining is back with 2 dining sessions Monday to Saturday between 6pm and 9pm and 9pm and 9pm. Numbers are limited, so bookings are essential on 7021 0555. Head to georgesonvista.com.au to check out the menu and the dining times. We're also doing takeaway 5 nights a week, Monday to Friday. You can order your meal, kids' meals or your favourite snack meals via email. info@georgesonvista.com.au or phone your order through on the night between 5pm to 8:30pm on 7021 0555. Or better still, just rock up on the night and place your order. Visit georgesonvista.com.au to see the dine-in and takeaway menus and for business hours. Get behind local business and dine in or order your next takeaway dinner from George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, in the heart.
Good evening and a very, very, very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us for yet another action-packed episode of the Football Out West show. Really, really looking forward to tonight's episode. It's going to be an absolute fantastic one. And my name is Tonci Prusac. I'm one of the co-hosts for tonight, and about to come on as well is our co-host, Craig Filer. Craig, who's playing around with his camera. Good evening and a very, very, very warm welcome to you, Craig. Episode 26 of the Football Out West show.
Good evening, Tonch. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me this week. Unfortunately, guys, I'm still having some problems with my internet. Telstra have promised it's going to be up and running tomorrow, so I may cut in and out. If I cut out, I'm not coming back this week. Trust me.
No, you got to stay on board. You got to stay on board. As you can see, I'm looking very bright tonight, very bright, and there's a very good reason for that. Bright days lay ahead for our code in this country, Craig. We've got some breaking news in the last hour. Football Federation Australia has released a press release. We'll go a little bit more into that. But tonight's show, mate, what have we got apart from the news desk, which we have every week? What else is coming on?
Yeah, so tonight, Tonch, is our monthly sponsor round. So tonight we've got our George Cross Soccer Club segment. So tonight we'll have the president of the club, Mark Sultana, will be joining us once again to talk us through the last month of getting back to some kind of normality. And as usual, Mark will have a lot to say on a lot of different things. And joining Mark this evening will be the General Manager of George Cross Soccer Club, LIZA DJURIC, who will also be on, and she'll be talking about her role, her responsibilities, and again what the club's doing through this sticky situation for everybody. So an interesting evening again.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's great to have LIZA on board. A lot that has been happening behind the scenes, and we're not just talking about the soccer club there at George Cross. We're also talking about George's on Vista. Day by day, Craig, the situation seems to thankfully get better. I mean, this time last week when we spoke, the restrictions were not yet eased, but a lot has happened over the weekend, and stuff a little bit closer to us, and that's the football side of things. They just seem to be changing day by day. It's sometimes very, very hard to be able to keep abreast of what is going on, but nonetheless, mate, it's bright days ahead.
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult situation for everybody. We've said it for weeks and weeks and weeks now. There's some clarity on it, but not a brilliant amount of clarity. I think clubs are still very, very much confused on what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. So we talked last week very briefly about the NPL clubs that don't want to take part in the league this year. I understand there's a meeting next week with all NPL clubs. And today,
Hold
Sorry,
that. I said, hold that thought. Let's get ready for the news desk. So what we'll do, we'll just take a very, very, very quick break. And when we return, we're going to go straight into the news desk. Welcome back to the news desk now, and you are here live on the Football Out West show with Craig Filer and myself, Tonci Prusac. Craig, what's the latest happening in the news desk?
All right, so FFA have released a press conference just half an hour or so ago, I think it was, Tonch, where they've basically announced that the A-League season, or the A-League clubs are going to start. The A-League clubs are going to start training mid-June, with a start date of mid-July for the season to start. Now, I suppose that's new news, old news, because I think we broke that about 4 weeks ago on the show, where we actually said the season will start the 26th of July. So it's new news, but it's still old news. But I suppose the good thing is that they've actually come out now and said that the A-League will finish the season. Yeah,
so James Johnson, the FFA CEO, has come out and is basically, and I'll quote him, "We are committed to delivering the completion of the Hyundai A-League 2019-2020 season and have agreed a comprehensive plan with the Hyundai A-League clubs and the PFA," Johnson said. "All parties have worked together extremely hard behind the scenes to ensure the professional game is ready to resume. Ideally, mid-June will see players return to training, allowing them to reach the required elite level of fitness for competitive matches to commence by mid-July, and for the Hyundai A-League's final series to be completed by mid-August." Now, this is the key quote. This is the key quote, which we know. It's old news being confirmed. "We are now looking forward to the agreement of our broadcast partner, Fox Sports, to our fixture proposal and timings. That's the final piece of the jigsaw, and once we have it in place, we can move forward quickly." Craig, there's been lots of talk over the last couple of days. Fox Sports, are they holding the A-League? Are they holding the sport? Are they holding FFA to ransom? There's talk that the $57 million a year agreement is going to be renegotiated to as low as $10 million a year. So, look, whew.
Well,
what is going on there?
We've seen this week, whether that's off the back of what's happened with the PFA. Well, I'm not even sure it's the PFA, where players have been asked to take an 80% cut in their wages. So whether that's got something to do with the Fox situation or not, we don't know. But look, it's a critical time for the sport now. Are they holding the clubs to ransom now, Fox? Thinking, well, they haven't got anything else. They will pay because they need clarity. They need their game shown on TV. But it's very interesting, Tonch, that the Golden Generation have come out today. They have a Facebook page now, and it's certainly worth a follow. I think it's I can't remember the Facebook name, but the football
Golden Generation. It's called the
Golden Generation. Yeah. So they've come out and basically said that we need a Netflix version for football in Australia, across all codes of football. So it's a very interesting tack that they've got, and I would urge you to like their page and follow it, because obviously they're starting to get some traction their side, and we're hoping in the next week or so to try and get one of the, or a couple of the starting 11 on the show to sort of update us from where we were 4 or 5 weeks ago. But look, the season's starting.
Let's just. That's good news. I just want to take you back to that Golden Generation post that was put up on social media, and I'm going to read it because we reposted it on our Facebook page earlier today, and it says, "When it comes to owning our biggest asset, we'd like to see football in Australia with its very own Netflix-style FFA TV. We have so much to offer: A-League, W League, Socceroos, Matildas, FFA Cup, National Second Division, State Leagues, National Youth Competitions and more, football shows, chat shows, Q&A shows, you name it." Now, we brought this up with John Aloisi, and I'd like to think that even the Golden Generation are listening to us, but it's just common sense. Simon Hill, when he was on this very show a few weeks ago, Craig, mention the fact that on Fox Sports at the moment, they can't talk about football. They can't talk about football issues. All they can do is really, really commentate. Now, there is so much content at the moment that is being produced by podcasts like us, websites like Soccer Scene, Daily Football, not Daily Football Show, the World Game, Opta Sports even. So there's a lot of that happening. Unfortunately, where we really should be doing it through our greatest asset, it's not happening. And the golden generation, in my opinion, spot on. You know, if it's $20 a month, $30 a month, and if we get 1 million people subscribing, that's $20-30 million a month. Now, I'm not going to say all $1 million people are going to subscribe, but if you had 100,000 at $20, that's $2 million a month, or whatever the case may be. That's going to filter down to various levels of the sport. You'd think that.
Yeah. I think it's certainly an idea that they need to look at. I think again we spoke, as you said, Tonci, we spoke about it a few weeks back with John Aloisi. Again, it's something that's got some legs. There's a lot of talk about lots of things at the moment. You know, we've been talking about this now for 6, 7, 8 weeks. We need to start seeing some action on some of these things now, and especially the football. You know, let's get back to football. And I know Mark will have a lot to say on that. But look, the press release has come out. FFA, the A-League clubs will start training mid-June with a start date of mid-July for the remainder of the season. So that's good news. We'll wait and see what comes of that.
Great news. We did approach last minute. We did approach Steve Horvath and Chris Pelavanis from Western United. Both of them were unfortunately tied up tonight. Chris in particular said he's on a Zoom call. So look, this press release got released at 6:01 p.m. So just over an hour ago. So it's all very fresh news. And obviously the big talking point will be the Fox equation. You'd think though, Craig, you would think that if Fox turns around and says, nah, we disagree, nah, we're not going to go, we're only going to continue if you guys drop your asking price for the next few seasons. I'm no lawyer, but you'd think that they'd pretty much be in breach of their contract, wouldn't you think? So
yeah, you'd think there was something behind the scenes that could be done on there. They're obviously holding out to pay as least as they can.
Yeah,
and pump their money into other sports. It's clearly evident. You haven't got to be a lawyer or a rocket scientist or anybody else to see that that's what they're trying to do. They want to pump it into NRL and AFL. That's clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have not got my Fox Sports subscription ever since the A-League stopped, and I will. So Fox Sports, if you're listening, I will resume my Fox Sports membership only once the A-League comes up. Now, the comments are already starting to flow through, which is great. And let me just say, I am going to start the official Steven Skondrianos fan club. He comes up with a magnificent comment. The best show. Keep up the good work, Steven. You are a legend. Keep those comments coming through. Miles Matrevsky says, evening, gents. Miles was one of our callers on Sunday night's inaugural, the Football Fan Zone Talkback show. Let's talk a bit about that, Craig, because we talked about it. We talk on a daily basis, don't we? But I know about you, mate, but that exceeded all my expectations. I was very, very happy with the way our first show went last Sunday night.
Yeah, look, it was good. It was the first one. We expected a few teething problems, and I think we got through it certainly better than we did this time last week on Thursday night. So it was good. We had 6 or 7 people ringing through with their questions and debates, and you know that's what we said when we set out to do this 12 months ago, and we were having a conversation. The whole goal was to try and get around to doing some kind of talkback show where our listeners get to come on air and air their views. It's not our show, it's their show. They can say whatever they want within reason, long as it's within the guidelines, and that's exactly what happened. So look, we're gonna continue with that every Sunday evening from 7 o'clock, right here on the Football Out West show. If you've got something you want to get off your chest, something you want to air with us, a debate that you want to start, phone us up, text us on the number, and we'll certainly try and get you on air.
Absolutely. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about before we actually go on to our guests tonight is the resumption of football in Victoria due to COVID-19, the guiding principles as issued by Football Victoria earlier in the week. I think it was on Tuesday that it happened. There's about 17 guidelines in total. Craig, did any sort of stick out in your mind?
Oh, Tonci, I'm at a loss, mate, to be absolutely honest with you, of what to take in it. We know that they're in a difficult situation, but some of the decisions that they've come up with, in my eyes, are ludicrous. And it just throws the whole season into chaos again.
Which one in particular, mate?
Sorry?
I'll go, which in particular? Was there a particular one that sort of, or guideline or proposal or whichever that you find is a little bit on the funny side?
Yeah, well, it just, and I'll read the part of the statement from Peter Philopoulos here. At the forefront of our principles is absolute clarity for Football Victoria clubs that we will follow the guidelines provided by government and football authorities before restarting play in 2020. The health and well-being of our participants, which is a given, and stakeholders is fundamental to any football being played this season. And we will continue our extensive work with the authorities to ensure all returning to training and returning to play guidelines are followed. From a footballer point, and this is the bit that gets me, from a football competitions point of view, relegation has been removed from all senior tiers of football and promotion retained. So can someone explain to me, are we all of a sudden going to up the leagues in the number of teams in MPL for next year then, are we? Is that the plan?
Well, that's what logic tells you, doesn't it? Like, so, and that maybe that should have been spelt out in that document. But I guess there is one point where there is, and I will bring that point up, where it actually says the number of teams in the in a league, in a particular league. So point 15.1, I think it is, the number of teams that choose to play in the league structure. So the variables that will be considered when determining a league fixture will include the number of teams that choose to play in a league structure, the amount of time in the calendar completes, blah, blah, blah. So in effect, it's saying we don't know exactly how many teams are going to pull out because we're saying to them that that's fine. If they feel that they're going to if they've been adversely affected by the COVID crisis, we're not going to punish them any further, okay? But then we don't know how many teams are going to pull out, and subsequently we're not too sure how many teams are going to be in a league. And there's even talk that if need be further down in the state leagues, if they need to amalgamate certain divisions just to have a feasible competition running, then that may be an option. But look, looking at that, I would think that at the top end, if we go to the NPL competition, yeah, there's not going to be any relegation, but there's going to be promotion. That means 2 teams will go up into the top tier, and that's going to be the case all the way down. So next year's competitions, instead of being 12-team leagues, will likely be 14-team leagues. In the NPL, that means it will be not a 14-team league, but a 16-team league. Now, looking further afield, further to 2022 season or 2021-22 season, does that mean if a second division or a second tier competition was come into it, and let's say we've got 4 Victorian teams then leave the NPL competition, that would then allow the top tier to go back to 12 or 14 teams? So is a short-term pain for long-term gain? I don't know. I'd love to hear what our first guest thinks about that. But what are your thoughts before we get to him, Craig?
Again, I don't know. If I'm honest, I don't know. And Mark will have a lot to say on this because it's gonna affect him and his club for sure. Because what happens if, and we know within State League One, players' fees are quite high, quite considerable, and if we look at some of the teams that are already signing new players, during the course of the last couple of weeks. What happens if 5-6 of the teams in State League One said, do you know what, we really can't afford this year? And they pull out. So State League One becomes a team of 6 teams.
Then they'd probably have to merge State
With
One
who?
Northwest with Southeast.
But what if they're full?
If
nobody pulls out in the Southeast?
What if? Lots of what ifs, isn't it? It's true, and I agree with you on that regard.
you know, it's a very straight look. It's a weird situation for everybody, as we keep saying. And I'll go back to what I said last week: we're in or we're out. We can't be a hybrid.
Well, sorry.
You're right. Carry on.
I was going to say, I've got a suggestion. I reckon across all media outlets, we should replace the number of COVID positive cases in Australia, the number of deaths, with the number of Victorian football clubs that are pulling out of the competition. Yeah. At the moment, the tally stands at 2, Richmond and Keysborough. Have we got any? Have we had any increases overnight in the number of fatalities, club fatalities?
Look, Tonci, they will be. We joke about it, but it is a serious.
Yeah.
It is a serious matter. You know, you've got to think of these clubs now that, I suppose, the MPL clubs, and this is where it's very different. You've got the MPL clubs who started back in February registering their players. Players would have paid their registration fees because obviously the MPL was coming. You know, certainly in the juniors, that season has already started. What happens now to the community clubs that have gone to their attire people and ordered their kit? But now all of a sudden they haven't got, some of those clubs have already pulled out. So Richmond, Keysborough have pulled out. What happens to those clubs? Because if I use my local club here, Point Cook, for instance, okay, their season haven't started. They probably haven't even registered the players yet because back in February, there was no need to register the players.
Yep.
So now players, they've already ordered their attire. Who pays for that? Because there's no money coming into the club.
But isn't that where the registrations come into it? And look,
what if they pull out, Tonci? What if the clubs pull out because they say, I can't afford to pay 60,000 to an attire company? What happens then? So it's a mess, an absolute mess.
That's a good one. Interesting point. And we're gonna, on that note, we're gonna take a break. And when we return, we're gonna have our first guest. He's the president of George Cross Soccer Club, or George Cross Football Club, Mark Sultana, and it'll be really, really interesting to see what he says and what his take on all of this is.
George's on Vista is the local bistro. City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. Bistro dining is back with 2 dining sessions, Monday to Saturday, between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Numbers are limited, so bookings are essential on 7021 0555. Head to georgesonvista.com.au to check out the menu and the dining times. We're also doing takeaway 5 nights a week, Monday to Friday. You can order your meal, kids' meals, or your favourite snack meals via email. info@georgesonvista.com.au. Or phone your order through on the night between 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on 7021 0555. Or better still, just rock up on the night and place your order. Visit georgesonvista.com.au to see the dine-in and takeaway menus and the business hours. Get behind local business and dine in or order your next takeaway dinner from George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, in the heart of Caroline Springs.
Welcome back to the welcome back to Football Out West. You're live here, and we've got a very heated conversation, very heated discussion happening tonight because emotion's going to play in it, and the overriding factor is a lot of people just do not know what the hell is going on. Craig, our next guest.
Yes, well, wait for it. So if you thought things were tasty, then it's going to get even hotter. So strap yourselves in as we welcome the president, who shouldn't be a president of any football club. In his own words, we welcome Mark Sultana, the president of George Cross Soccer Club. Good evening, Mr. Sultana.
Hello.
Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, very good, very good. It's great to have you on board. And look, when we last had you on the show 4 weeks ago, geez, so much has changed, yet it seems like nothing has changed. Firstly, how have you been? How's the family? And you're getting a few more grey hairs as president of George Cross, and all the goings on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much a full-time role at the moment. So, but no, look, everyone's well. Family's good. Again. It's great to be back at the club, seeing everybody, yeah, it's been a positive start to the week, and then obviously, it's just another day in football, they say.
Absolutely.
Well, you probably just heard us talking about obviously the Football Federation's mandate, or the press release that they came out with earlier on in the week, Mark. I think Monday it was when it came out. What were your initial thoughts around that?
Mark, can you hear Craig?
No, I can't hear Craig, unfortunately. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've had issues. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been having audio issues all throughout. Now, he was basically saying when the Football Victoria press release, I guess, came out. What was your initial reactions? What was your first impressions of the guidelines and what was being suggested?
Well, look, I suppose it's about the integrity of the game. So, if you look at some of the decisions that have been made, that you know what, the blessing is there's promotion, and George Cross wants to get promoted. So, there's obviously a number of negatives in terms of the relegation, and that there's no penalty for those teams that don't participate, and that's disappointing that they don't want to participate, because they're probably struggling. I mean, it's been tough for. And it's still currently tough for our club. So, but hopefully, we have a number of teams in State 1. It looks like it'll be quite a tough contest. But then
have you spoken to any Mark? Have you spoken to any of the presidents in State 1? What's their feeling? Are they all on board, or are their clubs considering pulling out?
No, I haven't spoken to any of them in regards to that, I've got to say to you, but I would hope to think that State 1 will still be as strong as what it was at the start of the season that was supposed to begin. So I don't know, mate. Look, the interesting part about it is that State 1's there for us. That's where we are at the moment, and our job is to do the best we can to get promoted. And I think we have the support of not only but the members, but the supporters and everybody else, and probably generally for those that want to be promoted, because George Cross that's the journey we've begun, and that's what we want to try and complete. It's great to see the community clubs look like they're going to have a start date as well, which is good. But again, Lisa can probably take you through a lot of that kind of stuff. But it's just really good to see everybody there. And, look, the fortunate part about it is they're giving us the ability to open up our bistro, and so able to have guests in two sections of the facility, which is really good. So and we get to see everybody start coming through.
And speaking about the bistro, I mean, 3 weeks ago, it was only purely, I think it was when it was Mother's Day. Georgie's on Vista expanded from a Friday night to a Saturday night, then offered a Mother's Day takeaway menu. Then it started becoming all week throughout the weekdays. And now, we're hearing news, what, is it June the 1st that bistros will be and restaurants will be able to cater for 20 people at a time.
Correct.
So
it
just keeps every week. It just keeps, thankfully, returning back to some bit of normality.
Look, the best part about this week was that, because I've been there every night other than tonight, but you get to see the women's team, the senior team training on the main pitch. You get to see the 16s NPL training on the main pitch. And you see all these kids running around, really looking after themselves and really understanding what's actually happening in the world, which is quite remarkable. I mean, they've really, I've got to say to you, I've got to congratulate them all on really understanding, what we're in and how difficult it is. I mean, you see some of the mini-roo teams only have 5 kids because they've only got, 12 in the, and so you've got to split the group still. So, look, it's heartwarming to see the clubs starting to come back, and I wish everybody and all other clubs that, they have the ability to get back as well. So, look, there's a lot of issues in football at the moment, Tonci and Craig. So you can ask me as many questions as you want, to be quite honest. But anyway, Yeah.
Craig, any questions?
Trying to work out my.
Yeah, look, it's a tough time as we've all said, and the fact that we're out on the.
I'm sorry, it's disappointing. I can't hear Craig, but anyway.
We can't hear Craig at all.
No, and maybe Lisa can come on, and I'll try and get back on my phone and see what happens, guys. So
well, on that note, we're going to introduce the general manager of George Cross Football Club, Liza DJURIC, and Liza joins us as well. How are you, Liza? Nice to see you.
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Craig, can you hear Liza?
I can hear Lisa. Can you hear me?
So it's all Mark's fault. It's Mark's fault. That's what it is.
No, Lisa, have you locked your daughter in her bedroom?
Get off anyway, and I'll try and log back in, okay?
Sounds good.
My daughter today.
You locked her in her bedroom so she can't bother you for the next 20 minutes.
No, she's gone to bed early. Would you believe?
She's got one,
No.
sorry?
She's gone to bed early.
Oh, how?
I know.
You
sedated
her, did you?
Sorry?
You sedated her, did you?
No, she's just tired. She's actually gone to bed early, which is good. Don't jinx it.
Well, welcome to the Football Out West show. It's your first time on, I believe. I don't think you've been on before.
Oh, she has last year, remember?
Did a live show at the venue on George's on Vista.
You did.
Of course. But it's the first time in season 2. And geez, what an incident-filled season 2 it's been, even though there hasn't been much action on the field. But Liza, behind the scenes, you've really had a very, very busy time. And it's just been a very, very hectic time. And we're not even going to talk about like the paperwork and all the bureaucracy that's going on. But just tell us some of the things that you've had to put up with or had to deal with since the coronavirus crisis hit back in, early March.
Yeah, I look, it feels like it sort of happened so quickly because in Feb we were planning and we were distributing uniforms, we were organising shirt presentations, we were having dinners, and then all of a sudden this big cloud came over everyone in the whole industry. And I think, to be honest, the last 2 weeks before the lockdown was quite difficult, and I'm sure it was difficult for a lot of administrators in clubs, wondering whether we needed to make a move and, remove the risk from people and shut down before the FFA told us to, or whether, we're supposed to wait. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of stress, I think, as a club on the board to keep everyone safe. So once the lockdown came in, obviously, we ended up homeschooling and everything else that everyone had to do. But obviously, particularly in the last few weeks, like you guys, I've been keeping my eye on the news and watching all the announcements, trying to read between all the lines and getting some clarity on everything.
Have you been, in that whole time, have you been in touch with a lot of the members, i.e. the playing members, the coaches, the team managers, etc.? Has their enthusiasm at any stage sort of waned? Have they just got sick of it? Have they got over it? Or have they always been really, really eager, enthusiastic to get back to football?
I think generally maybe the first 3 weeks, most people just really maybe relaxed and made the most of the lockdown, spending time with family. I think football wasn't that far from their mind, but maybe not a priority given the medical concerns and health issues that were out in the public. But definitely people were getting tired of lockdown, including myself and my family. And there was always enthusiasm on our team app. We've got a team app and people are always interacting on it and waiting for some sort of sign of football. So George did a fantastic job keeping everyone engaged at a coach level. So he was having Zoom meetings throughout with his coaches and making sure we continued our S&C program for juniors. So there was always something being delivered for at-home training. And we kept everyone engaged. So it was great news to hear that we could return to training, obviously under the conditions that were given to us. And we hope everyone should be waiting for further announcement, hopefully by the end of tomorrow, whether there's further ease on those training guidelines. So we're hoping, we've planned for it already. So we're just waiting really to push that button so that next week potentially we can increase our training sessions because, we did what we could. We stretched our training out across our 4 pitches, which is not something we normally do because we obviously have to maintain the grass, but COVID has done wonders for our grass. It looks fantastic, and it's given us the ability to put our NPL juniors and our senior women on the 2 grass pitches.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, Mark. Mark's back. We can hear Mark. Well, it's good to have Mark back. Liza, I wanted to just ask you very, very quickly. With obviously, with June the 1, last weekend's guidelines were saying that as of June the 1, there could be 20 players training plus the coach and all of that. So it seems to be going in a positive direction. But let's take a step back and look at it retrospectively, the last 2 months. You mentioned George Gero, the technical director, and he was doing a lot of Zoom interviews and seminars. Has it also forced clubs to maybe be a little bit more innovative as far as the way they connect with their members, the way they operate their clubs? Has there been another positive of the coronavirus era?
I think so. I think it gives people other options. So, you can. I would not be surprised if in between normal outdoor training that there's more of these Zoom sessions happening midweek with teams if they want to have a quick team meeting or within coaches. So you usually are on WhatsApp or whatever on a group chat and maybe more of this sort of face-to-face contact. Certainly as a board, we've been having Zoom meetings to communicate and prepare for hopefully a season for 2020.
Yeah, I think it's probably brought a lot of clubs and a lot of teams closer together. Whereas you're probably not having that interaction of talking. You know what it's like with a group where you're in that sort of environment. It sort of brings people out of themselves a little bit. And I think the whole Zoom conferencing is just going to make clubs and teams stronger than perhaps they were before. But I want to ask a question for you, and somebody's asked the question, and you guys may know. In regards to the FF or Football Federation statement, I would like to see more clarity as to when the junior competitions will start. Now, a few weeks ago, it was going to be the 26th of June, I think.
Yeah, so I think my take on this is that it's really dependent on contact sport being lifted and available. So unless there's a government announcement that says you can now engage in contact, then, I don't think they can really set a date.
That's a good point.
But the AFL,
sorry, Mark?
Can have contact sport. I mean,
professional,
the 2 NRL's playing a game tonight, contact sport.
Yeah, but not a community level, Mark. That's the thing.
I know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
But again, isn't it one thing? Isn't it? We're either in it or we're not in it. That's what I keep saying. We can't, as I've said on everything.
I think a lot of it's dependent on the ability to have contact sport. So, the training at the moment, obviously, it's difficult for coaches. It's repetitive activity. I'm sure the session planning is a little more difficult, and trying to keep it entertaining. It's probably more about having fun and the kids interacting from a distance, obviously. But until they can actually start bumping each other's shoulders and training properly, we just have to wait for that next announcement, which I'm hoping is in the next round of announcements that come out.
Yeah. And further to
I guess
that,
it'll just.
Yeah, and Liza, further to that, look, it has been said for the juniors, a minimum of 3 weeks is required as an adequate pre-season. Now, we can debate whether that is or isn't, but as soon as I guess we get the green light from Dan, the man, and the rest of the hierarchy, from the politicians, once we get that okay, and they said, all right, you've got 3 weeks then to do your pre-season, and then we can start. If that is our prerogative to get the season happening as quickly as possible. But as you said, until that happens, we can't start full contact training, and until we start full contact training, we can't have a preseason, and hence we can't have a season. So that's the best answer that I think any of us can give.
Look, I think the other part too, it allows, that 4 weeks and 3 week pre-season really allows the FFV to knuckle down on, how many squads are participating or not participating. What does each league look like? What do the rules of competition look like? Because obviously there's going to be an impact there if there's a positive corona case somewhere, and what happens to that fixture round. I think it just gives the FFV a bit of time to structure the leagues.
From a club that's playing their juniors in the NPL, have you been given some kind of deadline for playing or not playing?
No, we've not. We haven't been given anything. So no, I would expect that the Football Federation will send through some sort of request, confirming that we are fielding all our squads or which teams we're not fielding, because obviously maybe some people don't want to play in this environment. We don't seem to have that problem at our club, but that's the reality of it. There are the possibility that, but yeah, they haven't really come and asked us anything yet or told us. I think we got a notification this week from NPL regarding the boys' window. Obviously, that window was coming up, and they've basically said obviously that window won't be there, but they'll give us more information about that.
Mark, a question for you. We understand why, say, NPL clubs and certain state league clubs who've got big overheads would be saying, we're not really sure, we don't really think that we want to be playing and this and that. But as a president of a club, would you be disappointed if clubs that are, say, clubs of junior teams or even the amateur men's and metropolitan masters, if they decide, no, we're not going to play? I mean, in your eyes, what do they then stand for if they're not standing as a football club, as a sports club?
Well, I look at it from our club, and you can see how organised we are when you've got a general manager like Lisa. So you got to understand that we have been organised well and truly before COVID-19. We had a full engagement from all our junior squads, senior squads, women's squads, everything. Everything was arranged. Kits were arranged. Fees were paid. We were ready to go. As a football club, we were ready to go. So it would be so disheartening for us not to be able to complete what we wish to do. I mean, everybody at our football club is so united. And it would be, again, it's a big decision on behalf of the board of most clubs to be able to say, look, we don't want to participate. But it's all about the game, and that's what I struggle with. I want to see these kids play. I want to see our seniors teams play. I want the Metros to play. I mean, the Metros support the bar and bistro at Georgie's so strongly, and we came from a different tack. We felt that we had to change the model of the football club so that we could be a sustainable football club. We took I suppose, a chance in making sure that we employed a full-time GM and also a full-time TD, and then realised that the revenue streams for our football club need to be strong right across the board. So, again, the game suffers. If teams don't want to play, the stakeholders of the football club, the juniors, and so many people suffer from that decision. So it must be a very tough decision to make.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. You can imagine some of these clubs who are not cash rich. They're heavily reliant on their sponsors. Sponsors are having a tough time of it at the moment. You feel for these clubs at the moment, and I think it's really imperative that we don't lose these clubs, because football will be a very sad place if clubs start folding because they can't afford to compete and can't afford to get kids on the playing field on a Sunday morning.
I think, Craig, just to add to that, we are absolutely gunning for a season, and we're still hopeful. We keep hanging on to that hope until we hear otherwise. But George and I are already talking about what if there's that chance that there's no season. How do we continue football within our club? And there's no issue for us. We've already got correct. We've already talked about those kind of things, gala days. Well, it all depend on the contact, obviously, if you're allowed or not allowed. But there are a myriad of other alternatives to keep our club together and keep our kids playing and fit and ready for pre-season next year.
Now we've got one of our viewers. We've got one of our viewers coming in with a great question. So either Mark or Liza, if you could answer this question. John Attard says, has the Federation considered scrapping 2020 and aim at a full start in 2021? That would give clubs time to work out if they're going forward or folding, which then gives the Federation time to restructure the league. Good question. Has the Federation entertained that idea?
No.
Okay. There's the answer.
No, the impact. I think the impact there, I'll jump in. The impact for clubs if they do.
I think I'm having sound.
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear
the
you.
impact for clubs if they do stop the season now could be even worse, couldn't it?
Can you hear him, Lisa?
No, hang on. You can't. Lisa, can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mark.
No.
Look, the interesting part is you've got to achieve as a football club. So if you take that away from your players, there's no incentive for them to achieve other than to be able to play gala days and all that. But we are gunning for a season to play football. We can help. Again, all the clubs can sit back and understand how, there needs to be support from everybody, is what I'm trying to say. We're a club, we're a football club that wants to believe in making sure that we can deliver a product for all of our stakeholders. So when your juniors sign up, the parents become members of the football club. Okay? Mm-hmm. And when you sign anybody in your football club, it's all about setting goals. So it's a massive decision on football clubs to decide what they want to do in terms of, is the season go ahead? You know what? If there's only 4 in State 1, I'll play 4 of them 4 times if I have to. I want to get promoted as a football club.
And look, that's precisely, Mark, the clubs that are ambitious, the clubs that, let's call them serious, and that want to be involved, they shouldn't be penalised. They should be at least rewarded or have an opportunity to take part, hence the promotion. Now, the clubs that genuinely, as Craig said, have really suffered, they're on the verge of capitulation. I guess it's fair enough if that's the reason for it. And look, FFB is saying, all right, you can sit the season out. You're not going to get relegated. You're not going to get punished. Now, in your opinion, Mark, is the FFV, or Football Victoria, is Football Victoria maybe trying to please everyone? Yet we know you can never appease everyone.
Yeah, look, I can only talk about what we did at George Cross. We decided to engage every participant at our football club.
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mark.
We can
hear you, Mark. You're okay.
It was a close-up of you.
Hello.
Left. Hello, can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you, Tonci.
Yep, cool. So, sorry, continue, mate.
Yeah, so we decided to engage with all the participants at our football club. We, as president and as the board, we wanted to really deliver our message about how to unify the football club. And by unifying the football club, it gave us a strong financial base so that we can then distribute the right product for everybody at our football club. I'm not sure, again, and I can't speak on behalf of other clubs, I'm not sure how much engagement the board and presidents and volunteers have with their, with all their stakeholders. But we believe we had to build foundation of our football club, and that was to be able to deliver a very strong junior program, and also from the females and the girls' point of view as well. We felt that the senior coach in Eric had to have a clear understanding and working with George Giro. So I think as a football club, we delivered the fact that we were ready to, deliver what we promised we would. The sad part about COVID-19, the sad part about COVID-19 is that the complete separation for everybody. That's the hardest part. I mean,
Yeah.
so many people use the club as an avenue of recreation, participation. I mean, there's so much to it. There's so much to the football club itself, but we're no different from any other football club. We're also feeling it. I mean, we had to get rid of people. We had to shut down our bar and our bistro. It was a tough time, and it still is a tough time. But we believe again, and Lisa will vouch for this, and so will George and the board. And you know, everybody knew what we wanted to do. Everybody was united, and I think that's been the greatest change at George Cross. And the fact that we put all these people in place really engaged with our stakeholders, and you can see it. I mean, you've had Eddie working in the background with the council, and you've had Lisa there just doing a massive amount of hours with George Gerard. I think it took nearly 21 hours or 16 hours or something like that to do a complete rescheduling of the training facility. And the fortunate part about it is we've got 4 grounds to do it on, and some clubs only have 1.
Yep.
So the struggle's not immense. I mean, we just need leadership now. Everybody that, again, there's so many clubs. I mean, if you shut down a club, you shut down the history of your football club. And to me, that's probably the most important factor. So are you actually strong enough as a football club to make that decision that you'll let go the history of that club? That's a tough decision, guys. I don't know how I don't think I could do that. So,
yeah.
No, you're spot on, and I think that it's
I can't hear Craig, unfortunately.
It's not a bad thing, is it, Mark?
No, that's all right. Well, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a short break. We're going to take, like I said, we're going to take a little bit of a short break. When we return, we're going to continue this really, really interesting conversation with the president of the George Cross Football Club, Mark Sultana, and also the general manager, Liza DJURIC. So don't go away. You're tuning in to the Football Out West show. It is episode 26.
George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. Bistro dining is back with 2 dining sessions Monday to Saturday between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Numbers are limited, so bookings are essential on 7021 0555. Head to georgesonvista.com.au to check out the menu and the dining times. We're also doing takeaway 5 nights a week, Monday to Friday. You can order your meal, kids' meals, or your favourite snack meals via email. info@georgesonvista.com.au or phone your order through on the night between 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on 7021 0555. Or better still, just rock up on the night and place your order. Visit georgesonvista.com.au to see the dine-in and takeaway menus and for business hours. Get behind local business and dine in or order your next takeaway dinner from George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, in the heart of Caroline Springs.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. My name is Tonci Prusac, and tonight it's the George Cross themed program, and it's been a really interesting program so far, and we're going to continue with the debate that we're having at the moment. And also joining me here is Craig Filer. Craig, a lot of unknowns, but at the same time, we've got Mark and we've got Lisa, and we're doing our best to get on top of things. But before we bring Lisa and Mark back on, let's go through some of the comments that some of the punters are putting out on our Facebook feed. Simon Camilleri has a positive one. He says, fantastic organisation. George is doing an excellent job. Chris Briffa says, what's the FFV's views? If the season is scrapped, would fees be refunded or credited for 2021? Good question. We're not the FFV, so I guess we couldn't tell you that. But I suppose Amber Farmer asks another good question. Craig, what do you think of this one? Do we know when the cutoff date is for state league clubs to advise the federation if they're entering into competition for 2020 season? As far as I know, there hasn't been any cutoff dates. And I guess that's because FFV are very adamant, from what I can gather, that they want a season to go ahead, even if that means pushing into October, November, December. Craig?
Yeah, that's why I asked the question to Lisa just now, Tonci, to see whether there was a cut-off. I don't believe there has been. As we've said, there are a number of clubs that have already made the decision to pull out of the league, and as we said, that's very unfortunate. And I honestly believe there'll be more as this continues, and they assess the current situation that they find themselves in regarding players, regarding attire, regarding facility costs, referees, security. No supporters coming through the doors, or if there are, it's going to be very limited. Bars not open. It's going to go on for a while, but I think they need to come out with a date so everybody can start planning. If you're an MPL coach or a state league coach, let's talk about Eric here up at George's. They can't even have contact at the moment. So how can they plan for a season, which is
absolutely
5 or 6 weeks away?
And on that note, let's bring our guests back. Liza and Mark, thank you for joining us, guys. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better now.
Much better.
Yeah. Craig had a good point there, Craig. And maybe we can ask Mark that what the contingencies are behind the scenes as far as planning for a season that may or may not eventuate, and if it does eventuate, when, we don't really know. Mark, what are all those contingencies in place?
Oh, look, I'm reaching out to a number of clubs. There's again, you can host gala days and things like that. But again, Lisa makes a valid point about the contact side of it. But I think some of these conversations could be a 2-year conversation with a lot of people in the club. If you talk about, you will not have crowds at football. I don't know. Wow, this is an assumption, I suppose. But the rest of the season, I doubt it, and probably halfway through the next season, unless there's a vaccine to a certain degree. I don't know how they'll allow that, but that you can have 10. Well, you can have 10 people at home, and so we could spread pockets of 10 around the ground. I don't know.
As long as they're all related, that shouldn't be a problem with the multi.
I think
all I know is the club and everybody at the football club have done a massive effort in getting us to the point where we can train.
Yep.
And you really see the strength of your club when you see so many people just buy into what's going on. And not only that, your mini roos, and like I said before, prior, the kids even know what's going on, which is like it's amazing. And I mean, it's just been it's just a massive shock to most clubs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think can I just add to that? Just I think it's a bittersweet.
I don't know. Look, I struggle with it. Like I said, I just
he probably can't hear you.
Pardon?
Mark, can you hear Lisa?
No, I can't hear Lisa.
Okay,
No,
Lisa wants to say something. Over to you, Lisa.
No, he talks over me all the time anyway.
So, anyway.
Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you, Craig.
Okay, great. It was a comment. I've just seen his name pop up here, and he's your under-16s coach, Mick Svalchek.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I did giggle at his Facebook post the other week where I think he thought he was playing at Wembley or something. He was so Mick, if you're still listening, mate, it made my night to listen. To read your post about playing on the main pitch. He must have thought all his Christmases had come at once.
Oh, and look, the smile was from one end of the goals to the other. It was amazing. Like again, I mean, this is the whole thing about the club. You go there and you forget about everything, mate. And that's the sad part about all this. You forget about everything. You just focus into your club and you see all your people and everyone's having a bit of fun and whoa, stop, too close. And it's like, okay, you never know who's watching and, but again, look, we are ready as a football club. We've built a structure to make sure that we could be a strong football club because that's what George Cross is all about, mate. We are busting to get back into NPL, busting from a juniors and from a community, from the female side of it, the night cup. I mean, there's so much we're missing out on at the moment. It's just way too much.
Yeah, and we go back to talking about, I've got a question for you in a moment, Matt, but we go about talking about 20 players or 10 players on either side of a football pitch. And I said it on Sunday on the Football Fan Zone. I went to JB Hi-Fi on Sunday afternoon, and there must have been 200 people in there.
Correct.
Yeah, it's that
No,
contradiction that's a bit crazy, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's that contradiction that since we've started, Officeworks, Bunnings, Woolworths, Coles, no worries, go for your, hell for leather. But when it comes to simple things like this, and even things like, the not being able to visit parents or whatever the case may be on Mother's Day, that was just crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
it's the same with schools, isn't it?
Schools is
like my son's in year 11.
Lisa on?
He plays.
Lisa's on, yeah. Lisa's talking. Lisa's talking, Mark said, be quiet.
That's why.
Some of his teammates are with him at school, and, the distancing isn't as strict as when he's at the soccer, training. So it just seems to be, different in a different environment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I was going to say
I've got a question for you, Mark, because you can listen. And we've had a couple of comments on it, so it'll be remiss of me if I didn't ask the question. Rumours around the grounds this week, certainly on the social media, is around one of the, I suppose, the A-League's iconic players in Brendan Santalab leaving the club. Is there any truth to this rumour?
Yeah, it's true. Yep. Look, Brendan's. You could probably say has a long. He had a big think about what he wanted to do. He was a great asset to the football club and a great signing for the football club. But again, COVID-19 kicks in. Look, he's just decided to step back from playing probably full-time football in a certain degree. He's moved. Look. He's been a great asset to the football club, and he is moving on. So again, there's no hard feelings at all. I chatted to him yesterday as well, and I spoke to him on the weekend. So, but look, he's gone, and we need to move on as a football club. He's always welcome. He knows that. So no more rumours.
There you go, gents. Everybody, you have it on good authority that Brendan Santalab is no longer with the club. So please stop texting, messaging, and putting it on our Facebook page. You've heard it.
Now, we'll go through some of the other comments happening as well. Chris Briffer pops up again. All clubs in all sports are finding it hard at the moment. So be it. If clubs want to pull out, if George Cross plays State 1 with 6 teams, then so be it. Let's just play some football. Christine Frank Karlich says, juniors need to play, and if you support your club in these times, you would not ask for a refund. That's an interesting comment, Christine. Thank you very much. John Attard says, yes, Vic, we can. You'll have to ask Chairman Dan about that. Him and Victor Brinkat are having a little bit of a conversation there. Simon Camilleri says, very sad to hear. Wishing you all the best, Brendan. Brendan, we do wish him all the very, very best. Lisa, back to you. Let's talk about the Georges on Vista. Like we said, it's expanding, and hopefully next week the bistro is going to be open. How is there going to be? This is a tough one, and I guess something that maybe all people involved with the hospitality industry around Victoria will be asking themselves as well is how the logistics of it. 20 people at one time inside. Yep. Does that rule apply to outside dining, or will people have like a time limit as to how long they can stay? How does that work?
So, well, we've spent most of this week planning within those guidelines. So we're running 2 dining session times. So we'll have people, that lock in the earlier session need to leave by a certain point.
Oh, nice point.
So we can have 20 people in our bistro, and we can also have 20 people in our function space because they're separated areas, and we can have people outside.
Okay, awesome.
So it's pretty cold though, but the option's there if people are happy to sit there, and we encourage everyone to book. Obviously, look, we've got obviously parents at the moment that might be sitting in their cars waiting for their kids, but obviously they'll be more than welcome to come in and grab a coffee, sit at a table, and have a meal, or and enjoy that space.
I wish I could hear her.
Now, Mark, what she was saying was basically with the Georges on Vista, things will slowly start to expand, 20 people at a time. There's going to be staggered dining times. And look, getting back to what one of our viewers said, Christine Karlich, juniors need to plan. If you support your club in these times, you would not ask for a refund. Look, I'm sure that other clubs now with training sessions will be able to have, coffee stands, will be able to have, a little bit of a takeaway thing, if nothing else. I guess this is one of those things that maybe is this something that you'd suggest to other clubs to be innovative, to think up chocolate drops, ways that they can make money?
I think we're waiting on a ruling on that.
Again, you need to support your football club. I mean,
we'll get back to you, Lisa, in a sec.
Oh, were you asking me?
Yeah, she was saying. Lisa was saying. I think we're waiting on a ruling about that. But go on, Mark. What's your message?
No. I think we're a little bit different. We're a bit unique because we've got a separate.
You need to engage with all the club leaders, all the coaches, team managers, come up with ideas, and really try and utilise the facilities that you've got to do. Your members are your most important thing, so ask them what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, you were saying that
so
Cross is a little bit of a different sort of a kettle of fish here, obviously, with the way the club is set up. But you were saying
we have a restaurant, so restaurants are allowed to have patrons from next week. I think one of the damning things that was announced was that canteens were not allowed. And I think a lot of other clubs, were really let down by that because they're allowed to have people come in and do training and, just to sell a few coffees and some light food would have just helped, I guess, contribute to funding for them. So I did speak to someone from the FFE this week and I was following up this 20 player rule that we're hoping will come in by the close of business tomorrow, and canteen was one of the things that they were hoping to have a change.
Okay, the ruling of the canteen, is that a state government directive?
I'm not sure. I think Sports and Rec Vic need to clarify that ruling for FFV to then bring that to the table for everyone. So my discussion with Football Nation was that they're hoping that that's one of the changes that can be implemented. So let's fingers crossed for all those clubs that are really relying on that. And Jason, then for people to go and support them.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Zeri, a good friend of the show, says there is no doubt that everyone is itching to start. However, the FV is supposed to. How is the FV supposed to give us dates for a start of the season when the government hasn't given the green light? Society's suffering in general. Yes, it sucks, but we just need to be patient. Simple. Everyone needs to support their clubs in whichever way you can. Jason, the football operations director at St Albans Saints, and geez, Craig, they'd really be irked at the whole situation. St Albans promoted from NPL 2 last year, was doing really, really well in NPL. Yeah. And then coronavirus came. I reckon it was a conspiracy against St Albans, I think. But
I can hear Lisa again.
Oh, yes. We're all one big happy family.
Stop talking over me now.
Look, sorry, just to go back, because obviously I couldn't hear what Lisa was saying and everything. Can I just say the structure of the football club was derived basically by 3 people working full time: Brendan Sanderlab, Lisa, and George Giro. Okay, I suppose people find it, well, Brendan left because of football. Well, Brendan brought a lot more than just football to our club. So I think everybody needs to understand. Yes, it's the rumours and all that. The 3 of them work very strongly. George and Brendan work very closely, and I think that's the importance about, again, what we did at George Cross. So please, I mean, everybody, it is disappointing that we have lost him as a footballer, but it's even more disappointing that we've lost him as a full-time employee of the football club. So I think that's the 2 parts difference about where George Cross. We're slightly different from most football clubs at the moment because we've been we have a business as well. We don't just have a football club. So.
I lost my work colleague.
That's right.
But we're still in touch. Yeah. I spoke to him today.
Mark, that's a really good point that you just brought up, and it conjures up something that I read in the press today about the NRL. Oh, we shouldn't talk about the other codes, but the head of the NRL, the CEO, I don't even know his name. That's how much I follow the NRL. But he did make a very good, pertinent point, appropriate point, where he said we have to now, moving forward, make sure that we're never in the same situation again. Like the NRL, as opposed to the AFL, or maybe even FFA, doesn't have assets. All they've got is cash. And now, something like this comes along and it dries their reserves up. As clubs, as football clubs, not just FFA and FFE, but as clubs, do we now have to reconfigure the way we operate so that never again will we ever be in a situation where we rely too much on one income source? And a lot of clubs, a lot of football clubs out there rely on registrations. When registrations don't come along, they're stuck.
Yeah. Well, again, we made a change and believed by employing Lisa, George and Brendan was able to be able to structure our football club to make sure that everybody within our football club understood that we needed to build our income streams for everybody, not just for a senior team, but for everybody in our football club. Everybody, and Lisa can correct me, I think nearly everybody was paid up, delivered their kits well and truly before COVID-19, which I think is testament to our football club about how we engaged and how Lisa's role is so vital working with George Giro. And then Brendan also did a massive job in bringing, events to our football club. We actually had somebody that could represent our football club and actually bring events to our football club, which also aided in our income stream. And Lisa she can elaborate on a lot more than what I can, but I mean that's the point of difference that we felt that George Cross had to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the three of us together worked really well, and George and I still work well together. We will miss Brendan and what he brought to the table, but definitely I think you need to have another stream of income to support the business. Well, you have to run it like a business, really.
Sorry.
And I'll just say there, Lise, that Tommy Gavron from just on what you said there, from Melbourne Knights has put in here that you have 3 staff that are full time at George's. Which other club have that? You're a very unique situation, and you are. So, there's lots of clubs who would love to have full-time people within the business, but you're running it as a business. It's a football club, but more importantly, it's a business, and you have to run it like a business. I've had many conversations with the man to your left there about, it's run as a business, not as a football club, and it has to be. So to run it as a business, you have to have the right people in place to be able to do that.
And I guess
it gives us a point of difference, I think. Yeah. I'd like to think that our members can see that point of difference. Particularly our juniors, they get some, the things are done timely. There's always going to be hiccups with uniforms and so forth. But generally speaking, everything works on a timeline. We set sort of the stage for the year at the beginning, and we try to communicate as much as we can so that we try to be a bit of a point of difference to other clubs.
Yeah, well, we'd like to know what else is happening at other clubs as well. Robert Gresh comes in and says Westside Strikers resume training this Tuesday, so hopefully the season doesn't start in too long. We'd love to know what's happening at your club. Put it in the comments section. Let us know. And if you don't get a chance today, make sure on Sunday, for those of us that don't care about the voice, tune into the Football Fan Zone at 7 o'clock. Live on this Facebook page and ring in and have your say. We've got lots of people giving our comments tonight. Great to hear, great to see. And that's what we want. It's a game of football. It's a game of opinions. But ultimately, Mark, hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll be in a situation where our players do the talking on the park. Now, in the off-season, or let's say this the lockdown period, how have the players, how has Eric Christodoulou, the coach, how have the players been keeping active? And now that they've come back, how are they looking? Are they looking sharp? Are they looking flat? Are they looking ready to rumble?
Absolutely. Johnny Black's lost a bit of weight, so that's good. So he's looking fit.
I hear he's releasing a YouTube video on how to lose weight in the confines of your own home.
shut the pubs down. So anyway, we've been involved with Zoom meetings with the players and everything, and they're itching to play, mate. So like I said, look, there might be a sense of arrogance in what I'm about to say, but we're ready to go, and we're on a mission from very much from the juniors all the way to the seniors and the women's, mate. We're ready to fire. So hopefully things can get going. So.
Now, my apologies to Eric Vasiliadis. I said Eric Christodoulou. Now,
I can't
where
believe
did
you
I
said
get
that.
Eric Christodoulou? I think he was a player from the old NSL days. I don't know how that happened. Thank you to Tommy Gavran who corrected on me, and my apologies. I feel like I've got a tomato on my face because of that. But Tommy Gavran does say, "How's Marijan Cvitkovic, close season signing from the Melbourne Knights, so stepping down from the NPL, the veteran who's what's he looking like? That's an interesting.
He's good. Yeah, no, look, he had a small little injury, but his wife was expecting today, so I wish him all the best. Wish him
no way. Have we got a news flash? Has Tommy Gavran, has his wife had a baby yet? Let's break the news here on the Football Out West show.
I'm not quite sure. I wasn't at the club and only briefly spoke to Eric this afternoon. But
so will he be a first-time dad if this happens?
I think so, actually.
Whoa.
That he knows of, I think.
We might have,
that he knows of.
We might have to get him on the next George Cross-themed program in 4 weeks' time. Now, Liza, a lot has happened in the last 4 weeks. What about the next 4 weeks? Geez, is anyone going to even predict what is going to happen in that period?
No, we don't know, but we're ready. We've already got our training plans and our training schedules scheduled for all the segmented increases so that we can just flick the switch. Our teams are ready. You know, we've had teams that have had to cut training sessions down from an hour and a half to an hour, from 3 nights to 2, from 2 to 1. So, you know, our plan is really focused on making sure the minute we are given the green light that we can increase those sessions and resume some normality, hopefully. Yeah.
Great.
Craig?
No, nothing else for me, apart from to wish you both the very best over the next couple of weeks. I know it's been very tough. I know I speak to Mark quite a bit, and I know it's mentally draining and very tiring for everybody. But hopefully we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, and I wish you both the success this year, and let's hope that the season does go ahead and George are up there fighting for promotion at the end of the season into MPL where you belong.
Yeah.
Great,
Can I just say a couple of words from behalf of the club and everybody that's involved in soccer right throughout Victoria? Ed's doing the best he can at the moment, mate. He's fighting really hard, so I just want to wish him the best, and we miss him. We haven't been able to see him at the football club, so all the best.
Yeah. We second that to Ed Gauci.
I think most people will understand that he's been a very integral part of this football club. So, and he also worked very closely with Brendan and Lisa and George. So, because of COVID-19, he just doesn't get the ability to come to his beautiful football club that he's done, helped so much with. So, Ed,
but he's still telling us what to do from the phone, though, which is good.
Yeah,
it's really helping us out with getting the bistro up and running. So he's, doing what he can, which is great.
Yeah.
We love him.
Great to see. On that note, Liza and Mark, thank you once again very much for
I can only
joining
hear
tonight.
You, Craig, I think. But anyway, all good guys, and to all the George Cross people, we'll see
back.
you soon in bigger numbers.
perfect. If you can only, he's gone. He's done.
Yeah.
He's done. Oh, Lisa's gone as well.
Yeah, no, that was great. Great to have them both on board, and we wish them all the very, very best in the coming weeks, because it is going to be a busy time, and it'll be look. Hopefully, in 4 weeks' time, Craig, things are going to be a lot more rosier, a lot more brighter, a lot more brighter than my top, by the way. And we certainly hope that we'll be able to sort of be in a situation where we'll be able to report about, a game, an imminent game, or talking about the date. We might have more concrete dates and all of that kind of stuff. So, look, a lot expecting over the next 4 weeks. But in the meantime, Craig, Sunday night, a really, really, really important thing on Sunday night will be our show, the Football Fan Zone, and we look forward to that.
Yeah, Sunday night is your show, guys. It's not myself and Tonci. It's an opportunity, as I said earlier on, for you to come on, rant, rave, moan, groan, or be happy. Your choice. It's a Sunday evening. It's a great time slot, 7 to 8 o'clock. Join us, text us before the show, and we'll do our very best to get you on and have a debate, have a chat around anything football. So we look forward to having you on board on Thursday. Thanks to the listeners who've been on tonight, and thanks again to Mark and Lisa. Always great to get Mark on. A lot of comments there about how the club are doing, and I suppose there's a lot of clubs could look at what George Cross are doing and follow in their footsteps as best they can. Facilities wise, they're a cut above everybody else, but there's things they're doing around the football club that make it a proper football club in a community league. So thanks to them both again, and I suppose on behalf of us, Tonci, I think big thanks to them for sponsoring this show, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do the show on a weekly basis. So a real big thanks to Mark, Lisa, and George Cross Football Club.
Absolutely. On that note, a very, very good night to you all. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, all the very, very best. And tune in on Sunday night.
George's on Vista is the local bistro. George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. Bistro dining is back with 2 dining sessions Monday to Saturday between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Numbers are limited, so bookings are essential on 7021 0555. Head to georgesonvista.com.au to check out the menu and the dining times. We're also doing takeaway 5 nights a week, Monday to Friday. You can order your meal, kids' meals, or your favourite snack meals via email. info@georgesonvista.com.au or phone your